Hi there. I want to show you how I tone my panels using a cool to neutral gray. So the tools you need gloves, a cotton t-shirt material, some clean odorless mineral spirits, a palette knife, and a surface to mix on. And then this is what I use to make my neutral grays. You can, Williamsburg has a really nice neutral gray number 4 that I really like. It is a wonderful neutral gray, except for it's a bit too warm for my taste. So let me demonstrate. So I always add a little bit of ultramarine blue to my mixtures. So I'll demonstrate and show you what. Okay, there's the straight. And then there's the pile that I'm going to mix. So, and I do it about a 2-to-1 ratio with the blue to neutral gray to make it more gray. I'll adapt it if it's not mixing out the way I want. And so let me show you. Let's first, so what I'll do is I use a palette knife and I mix I mix the two pigments very evenly. Now, this is the way I do it the most, and because it's so easy. So I'm gonna, okay, and then so this is my mixture of ultramarine blue with neutral gray number 4 by Williamsburg. And then, like, if I want to tone something, I take my palette knife and I just kind of smear it like that. And you also might want to have a rag too, so that way you can clean off your palette knife. And then you take your t-shirt material and you just dip it into the odorless mineral spirits, and then you just spread it. And you can do this with a brush, but I just find that the rag is super easy. So this is the neutral gray with ultramarine blue. Actually, I'm going to put that in there for the time being. And then this is just the neutral gray number 4. Wet it down. You can see how much more brown, which then, i.e. more warm, this neutral gray is. And I'm not so crazy about that. I much prefer that neutral gray color. Now, I realized I should also show you another way that I mix my neutral gray too. And that is, I will also mix ultramarine blue with burnt umber. And this ratio ends up being a little, I think I start off 50-50 and then I mix it as and the mixture comes out a lot darker. Just because of the initial pigments are so much darker. Where neutral gray has titanium white in it, PR102, which is a natural iron oxide, and PY43, which is another iron oxide. So, okay. And that's why it's so warm. So this is, and this one I have to test a bit. Okay, so with the ultramarine blue and burnt umber color, it's a bit of a mix. You have to test and see how things work out. And I'm looking at my mixture. It's very dark, but it feels like it, when I look at it, I think it has too much umber to blue. I'll test it. I do that by doing a very small sample. And I got a new cloth because I want to make sure that I'm testing it well, and then we'll see. Okay, it's light, so I know that but if I look at it, I think it's a bit too warm. Yeah, way too warm. So that means I need more blue in my mixture. And looking at how warm, that means I probably need to do like that, which would mean that instead of a 1-to-1 ratio, I probably need to double that just a bit. Oops. So I'm going to remix. Let's see. Okay. Much cooler, but too cool. But I didn't mix the whole puddle. So now I'm going to mix the whole puddle, and that should get me closer to what I want it to be. And the truth is, if it's a little bit more blue than gray, that's fine with me too, because I paint mainly floral still life compositions, and a lot of flowers are warm, so that very bluish gray looks fantastic as a base for a painting. And in fact, that kind of reminds me of some of the toned bases that you can see sometimes in a Rembrandt painting. So I don't mind that so much. Let's see. Where am I at now? Yeah, that's pretty. It's a nice one. I don't like it to be so thin, so I do like to try to get the value to be a true medium value. So there. So this one's a little bit cooler, ultimately, than the one. Okay, so let's look at this. So what do we have? We have, this one is pure neutral gray, number 4. This mixture right here is neutral gray and ultramarine blue. 2 parts neutral gray to 1 part ultramarine. And then this mixture was burnt umber and ultramarine blue. And it's not a 50-50 ratio. It ended up being like 60% ultramarine blue to the 40% burnt umber. But so these are 3 ways to tone your canvas. And like, one thing I also want to point out is that this is a transparent with an semi-opaque pigment. So the tone goes down as a semi-opaque. This one has a mixtures of transparent pigments and titanium white, which is like a super opaque pigment. So this one it's also a semi-opaque. And then this one is a transparent pigment with a semi-opaque convenience mixture. These two probably are similar in opacity, and that one's just a little bit more opaque just because of the titanium white. It's so strong. So I'm going to tone my canvas. I have several panels that I need to tone, and I'm going to do that now. I usually make a big pile and tone like as many as 5 or 10 panels at a time. That way I have panels that are ready to go. And for this one, I'm actually going to smear all the way across the whole thing because I want to use this panel, but I know I won't use that part of the panel if it's toned to that color. Okay, so I'm actually going to combine them all. And I think I'm going to just use, since this one is the coolest, I'm going to use this and I'm going to smear. And I'm just going to there we go. So now this will dry for about 5 days minimum is my standard for making sure that it sets up and dries well enough. And then it's ready to go to be painted on. Thank you so much.